I feel terrible about yesterday, being Veterans Day and not saying how much we really appreciate. My goodness, why that's why we're here now, can do what we're doing. Appreciate what these people have done and what it means to us. It means to everybody in this country, and we thank anybody that's ever taken up arms for this country.
God bless it. And
Yeah.
we get and people don't understand that. There's a lot of stadiums. The news will, the media will let you know what they want you to know. But you look at some countries, and if you read, you can always find stories. But I knew a kid that was, well, I say kid, he's my age, but he decided to go a path of Fox Sports. He came from Univision, though, and he was covering soccer. But he would go to
Mm-hmm.
Brazil for soccer games. And he said after the game, one of the guys, the referees, made a bad call during the game, and they got into an argument. Well, the ref got beheaded in a parking lot after the game, and at that point, the refs obviously decided we're going to go ahead and not ref anymore, and the league got under scrutiny. And there was protests and fires and raids and almost the whole village. I mean, the whole city almost burned down. And you're saying, okay, that is what could happen in some places. And Brazil is actually a respectable country compared to a lot. But you look at something from that standpoint, we could be living in that. So when we have situations where we get to watch football and the repercussions, and I saw I posted yesterday on our ESPN page that the president was there, but you had 3 or 4 Secret Service agents up top, and they had their guns and they had it ready, and they were sitting here, and the only reason they were there was to protect and make sure everybody was watching a good game of football, and that's it. But those are the kind of things behind the scenes that
Yeah.
they've got our backs, and I hope people realize that those people are there to protect the freedoms of what we have, not to try to stir the pot. So when
Yeah.
people try to make it, you wouldn't even know they were there unless we brought it up. But they're there to protect the game and the integrity of getting to play a great game we love and part of this country. And without our troops, without our veterans, that wouldn't be possible. None of that.
Absolutely. We respect very much what they've done. And just want to make sure that we say that.
Thank you, Coach. Looking at the situation with the game now, to get back to Seattle, they get the win. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't one of those kind of games where, from a standpoint in the final minutes, that each team continued to make the right play to win. It was actually the opposite. A lot of the teams started to make the wrong play, an interception, a shank of a kick. However, it was entertaining. And if you weren't a fan, a lot of people over here don't have ties to Seattle or San Francisco, although both teams have had rich history of championships. So a lot of the teams, people become fans of those. They like the color uniforms, the swag. We had Doug Baldwin from here, Joe Montana throughout all the years. But, Coach, does this change any perspective in your mind? Because for a week that we started to think that we knew the NFC, you had the Saints get dismantled by Atlanta. You had a team in Seattle that beats San Francisco, who at home, and a team that had dominated defensively. And then you have a team like the Green Bay Packers, who they found a way to win, but they didn't look pretty doing it against Carolina as the complete package. Is there a front runner right now, in your opinion, in the NFC?
I don't think it changes that much from week to week.
Mm.
Changes some, but you're right. This was an upset week. So to
Rams
speak.
lose to the Steelers.
Rams lose to the Steelers, and the Rams are really having some problems right now, and I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome it and come out of the shell they're in and play winning football. But the most surprising, I guess, would be the 49ers losing at home, and certainly. No, I take that back. Saints getting blown out like they did would be the most surprising. But I think that happens. It happens once or twice a year, and the good teams come back from that very quickly. They learn their lessons. They do a better job in practice. It makes them more tuned in, more acute to what's going on in many ways, and they come back and play very good football. So I expect to see that from the Saints. I expect to see that from 49ers. Maybe not to the extent we'll see it from the Saints. But, I still think you've got those people. You got Minnesota and you got Philadelphia. And, below that, those are in the upper echelon along with There are a couple of teams that would be just on the lower fringe of that, meaning like Dallas and L.A. Rams, but not to the extent that they're threatening any of those teams right now. I don't think.
Well, and I guess you have to say Sam Darnold believes that the New York Jets, they're not out of it, as he said, is 2-7. He said we as long as we win every game, we've got a shot. He says this.
Well,
There you go.
Go
The
do it,
optimist.
Sam.
Hey, there we go, Sam. Good thing there. Glad we're not seeing ghosts. We're just moving forward and winning every football game now. That's every week. The Jets. I wish they really didn't play in New York, so we didn't have to hear about them as much because they really aren't worth talking about, and they get so much press. And Adam Gase, hey, just keep smiling. Looking at the situation right now with what's going on in New Orleans, the panic button. This has been a big conversation around here. I don't see much at all. I saw a game against a rival. They had a bad game, but you still have all the you've got Michael Thomas, you've got Alvin Kamara, you've got Latavius Murray, who's now got more touches and feels more comfortable. Your offensive line's healthy. Drew Brees, a defense that's good. To me, I didn't see any sense of concern just because of one bad week against Atlanta.
I have one
Yeah.
concern about the Saints. I've said this over and over. I don't think they have a complete receiver core. They need one more good receiver on that football team. I think one that can really take the top off. They need that type receiver, and they don't have it. Quite honestly, they don't have that receiver. They're doing a great job with what they have, but they don't have that type receiver now. What they did this past week, I think, is probably going to give them a chance to take care of some things that maybe they needed to take care of. Chad, that's the way I feel about that. I think they're still. I would take them over pretty much anybody right now in the national conference.
Coach, today emotions can get the best of players more than ever. People aren't as tough, and to play football out of any sport, I've had days around here. You've seen it anywhere where you get I'm an emotional guy, and there's days where it's tough, and there's days that's not. But as you get older, you realize life isn't perfect, whether it's in anything, whether it's getting a new home or the perfect marriage or at work or anything in life. People are all struggling. Everybody, whether they mask it or not, or they put fancy photos on social media, everybody's got problems. Everybody's got medical bills. Everybody's got health. Everybody's got family issues. No one person out there, believe me, not one person out there is fine. If you're saying that, you're probably the one that has the worst of them. But if you don't know everything's perfect, that's where you've already gone down the wrong path. But one thing we know in football, to go through the gauntlet of a schedule, and especially when your team's not doing well, and you can't do as much to defend that on the defensive side of the football, it is you can see people start to give in, and it's pretty inevitable, and it's changed a lot from when you played to today. Kids today, when I say kids, they're 19, 20, 23-year-old kids. They go out there and they'll give up on plays, and you can see it. Well, Vernon Hargraves is a really good player from an athletic standpoint. He was drafted number 11 overall, Florida Gator. I remember watching games with him playing. Gator fans remember him. But he was benched 2 weeks ago by Bruce Arians based on not hustling. And Bruce is one of these guys, he's watching. He said, nope, you're off the field. Well, he's been released today. He was their number one corner and a guy that was drafted 11th overall just 3 years ago. Highest paid guy on the defense outside of David, and a guy that they expected big things. Coach, does this shock you? And how much do we see of this that sometimes might miss the eye as a head coach? Are there situations like this that there's not much you can do about it, even though you know that this guy's not giving it all because of somebody upstairs with the right ownership, with the wrong ownership sometimes?
That's a tough thing. There's so many circumstances that could be involved from each team, which are different. We've cut number one draft picks before. In fact, at one time, I think we cut 3 number one draft picks in 1 year. We went to Buffalo, so it happens. Yeah, you have to, but you have to have faith in your judgment of personnel. And then you have to make tough decisions, and you have to stick with them. And if you're fair, and let me tell you, other players know on the football team if a guy's not really cutting it, not doing the job. And if you cut that guy, they really respect you for doing what you should do to help them win. So it's something that has to be done, and evidently he was not getting it done. I think Bruce Arians is a very fair guy, and I would guess that there are very good reasons why he did what he did.
Well, he's no longer with them, and I'm sure he's the kind of athlete that will be back with somebody soon. However, when you get to that point where after 2 days, he said, and this is Bruce's quote, after thoughtful consideration over the past few weeks, we came to the conclusion that we needed a change. This is from Jason Licht, the Buccaneers GM as well. Decisions such as this are always difficult, but I felt it was in the best interest of our team with Vernon at this point and allow him to explore other opportunities. We're disappointed that it did not work out here, and we wish him continued success. That's the perfect cliche answer right there.
That's okay. We don't even need to hear that.
That's just a straight PR from the book right there.
He will be picked up by somebody.
Yes,
now.
He will, yeah.
A high-round draft choice. Somebody out there said,
the Cowboys or Rams. There's a good chance.
Yeah, we'll get him right. We'll get him right. There's only one team that can get him right, and that's up in New England.
Yeah.
But,
I think but he's already got a call from Jerry Jones this morning, I think, actually, probably, I'm sure.
Well, he may have.
It's not a bad pickup if he plays. He's a good athlete.
Yeah, but you always got to wonder about a guy that shuts it down on you, on anybody. In this competitive game, this is a great game, and anybody that shuts it down has no respect for the game itself. He has no respect for those around him, and that's inbred. So be careful. That's all I've got to say. Be very, very careful with that. Boy, the flag, the caution flag goes way up to the top of the pole on somebody like that. Let me make one comment on the Saints too. We have to keep in mind they ran into a football team with as much offensive potential and talent as just about anybody, who very, very much at the end of the road, tired of being
poked at.
Just made fun of, and just terrible situation. They've gotten terrible press, and even fans have made remarks now, and it's just and other peers, the peers have made. So it was to the point that something had to give, and you got that much talent, and with the leadership like they probably got from Ryan, the quarterback, they probably broke out and had a heck of a ball game, and that much talent decides they're going to play their very best, and you're not expecting it. Keep in mind now, these are human beings, and it's very difficult to get people up for 16 weeks during the season. You're not going to do it. You're going to have some weeks that they're not up as high as they would be in other weeks. I would venture to guess, I think I'd be guessing right, that they were not as high for Atlanta, based on Atlanta's record and so on, as they would be for somebody else. Atlanta came in and had one of those days, and that can happen in the National Football League. You can get blown out by the weakest team in the league. And they came in and did it. That's a good example for everybody. I don't care who you're playing. You can lose an NFL game.
Those are every person on that field, whether you make fun of their team or who their player is, at one point was pretty much an All-American in college. That's what somebody said a long time ago, and it's sometimes hard to revert back, but every single person on that field has beaten out other top-tier picks. Because there's practice squad guys and XFL guys that were stars in college. These are the best of the best of the best, and based on that, it's not like when a Kent State plays against an Alabama. Those you have some guys that look like me playing defensive end. That's not going to bode well for you against Alex Leatherwood out there. He's just going to throw me to the ground and keep making fun of me. But this is one of those moments where every one of those athletes can make plays, and that's what people. The ones that really stink usually have a quarterback that for 60 minutes isn't going to be able to do it, and that's not Matt Ryan. So in that case,
You're right,
Coach.
and
Yeah.
it's just one of those NFL days.
Yep. It was one of those NFL weeks. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more on the College Football Playoff Committee coming up. We'll also get to our Pick'ems contest for a $25 gift card to Calvert's and 2 free hours of shooting with 2 people at Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range right there on Highway 29 in Car City. The game, Auburn versus Georgia, the oldest rivalry in the South in college football, and 2 teams that have been battling out for a long time. Looking forward to talking more about this game and other big games this week, as right now, currently, Georgia a 2-point favorite in a pivotal matchup in the SEC. Coming back for more, it's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
When weather hits, the right wiper blades make all the difference. That's when the Michelin Man is on your side, helping you see better and drive safer with new Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. Designed with exclusive SmartFlex technology or frameless beam design, Michelin blades flex to the curve of your windshield, giving you unparalleled, streak-free, long-lasting, all-season performance. So when the going gets tough, be ready with Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. It's a difference you can see. Available at Walmart, Menards, Mills, and Plains.
This is the busiest time of the year in the city, but the holidays wait for no one. So I'm glad I have USPS to get presents to my nephews in time. Traffic jams or not.
You don't see many people when you live way out here. But even on snowy days, I can rely on my carrier Donna to show up.
Wherever you call home, the United States Postal Service goes the extra mile to bring your holidays home. Learn more at USPS.com/season. And with informed delivery notifications, get a digital preview of your mail before it arrives. United States Postal Service. Priority you.
The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh my gosh, that's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk that compelling moron.
He's nothing but a lame-headed old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cowturd.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM as get set to go. It will be Go Gators coming up here after we're done. Jeffrey D will join us. And then tomorrow, Tomahawk Talk. And it's, Coach, I wonder if Terrence and the crew have found a new suitor for. We'll see if they've gotten their new guy as the.
I don't think so yet, but.
Is this from that process, because you've been around there, you've been in the locker rooms and this, is it a good or bad thing? First off, it's a bad thing that they're waiting this long from a standpoint of recruiting. But is it something that, to me, I'd rather get even if it takes a little bit of time, but you lose a few recruits in the process, I'd rather get the right guy than to rush just to do that and end up with 3 years of turmoil like you.
Yeah, I think it's maybe overrated right now as to losing recruits and how quickly you have to do this. Obviously, you'd like to do it as quickly as possible, but they have a list, like everybody. They have a list, and that list is getting more and more and more and more scrutiny. When you do that, you usually fall more and more and more in love with somebody, okay? And you want to ditch the others and move toward one or two. Now, what's really tough is when you find out you're not going to be able to get those one or two that you really want. Then you got to go back and you got to, and it's an arduous process. It really is. It's one that is absolutely necessary. That the due diligence is there, and you make a proper decision. So we know that. Everybody knows that. I just wonder where they are. I have no idea where they are in that process. If they've been jilted, if they feel like they're pretty close to somebody. Now, keep in mind, if it's somebody that is coaching right now, they can't say anything about it. And we don't know that it's not. If it's someone that's not coaching, which would be the easiest route to move quickly, they could do something like that. But how many coaches do you think would be attractive to them that are not coaching right now? That's the key.
Yeah, and they're the good news for them is there's 2 or 3 coaches that are on the list that you can tell maybe out of the respect of their toughest games in their schedule. For instance, and I'm throwing this out because I'm eating my popcorn and sitting back. I'm not going down. The stoop, I call it. I'm not going down that path again, but I'm going to enjoy seeing who the next coach, because it is the team closest to us of one of the major Power 5 schools,
sure.
And we like to support Florida State. I mean, unless you're a Florida fan or a Miami fan, I hope you would support Florida State.
I support. I've always supported Florida State. In fact, so my best friends were, of course, Bobby Bowden and
Mickey Andrews.
and those guys are just outstanding people, and you wish them the best. So both my daughters went to Florida State, so it's not something that you I'm not a big believer in this hate thy rival as ordained.
Yeah. Well, hate thy rival this week. If there was such a thing, if people thought they did, the hate thy rival people that do commercials with Auburn and Alabama. It's funny this week that Alabama fans will be the biggest Auburn fans because they need Auburn to win that game for 2 reasons: to knock Georgia out of that potential spot, and also to catapult them up, because the most important game left for Alabama, because they're not going to get brownie points by the committee for Mississippi State and Western Carolina. But if they go into Auburn in a couple weeks and they win that game, that could mean a lot more if Auburn beats Georgia. If Auburn beats Georgia and sets that up, then that's huge. But, Coach, the College Football Committee is going to make their decision today. And usually last week's wasn't that big of a deal. It really wasn't, just because we knew wherever they sliced it with Ohio State won, LSU. If LSU won, even by beating a team by 1,000 points, LSU is going to be ranked number 1, in my opinion, this week. They're going to be 1. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would think they have to be, and I think Ohio State's
will be 2,
Get to be 2. But now keep in mind, this week, really, if you look at the bottom line, this week's not going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference either. Because here's the reason. LSU and Ohio State, if you look at the most likely scenarios, both are going to win out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, where the key is going to be where they put Georgia and where they put Alabama.
That's important.
That is important. But they each, wherever they put them, they each could regain one of the 4 spots. Think about it now. If they put Alabama 5th, who are they going? Well, they're probably going to put Clemson in their 3rd. So, they're obviously going to run the table. If they run the table, see, I don't think they're one of the best 4, but that's my problem.
Georgia, but see what Georgia has that Alabama doesn't is Georgia still has the leverage point where they know, because we're all smart enough to know whether the committee wants to say it or not. If Georgia wins out, they're 100% in, meaning that they would have beaten at that point. They would have beaten Auburn, then they would have beaten Georgia Tech, they would have beaten Missouri, and they would have also they just beat Missouri, but they would have, and then they would also, more importantly, they would beat LSU in that conference championship, which would get them in. So Georgia, if they're the SEC champs with 1 loss, they're in. So they know at this point Georgia controls it, where Alabama needs to sort of look back and hope that Auburn beats Georgia, that they start to fade these teams out. The one I'm intrigued about, Coach, because anyone that says Penn State or watched that game last week, let's stop. I mean, let's call them what they are. They're a good team, not a great team, and that's what they were.
Yeah.
And Minnesota's not going to beat. I like Minnesota, and I'm proud of them. But Minnesota, if they played today, and I'm sure Danny Sheridan would say the same. If they play against Alabama down in, let's say, Jerry Dome in Texas, it would probably be Alabama by 14 or 17 points over Minnesota. So we know that Minnesota is a good team, and we're proud of them. And I hope they continue to win. But they're not as good as Alabama's or Georgia's of the world. They're a good team. But Penn State's not at that level either.
No.
So what I hope to see this week, there are 2 teams, though, that can win those games. And the ones I'm more intrigued by, Coach, are where they put Alabama, where they put Oklahoma, and where they put Oregon. Those 3 to me are the ones, because that really is going to be the key. We're hoping for Alabama fans. If you're in the Alabama bubble right now, you want to hope that LSU or Auburn knocks out Georgia, so eliminates them. Then you look, though, at the 2 biggest suitors that might take you to that number 1 spot, because to me, LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson are on the best paths to get the 3 spots. Then the 1 left might come down to a 1-loss Oregon, a 1-loss Oklahoma, or a 1-loss Alabama that didn't win their conference or division. So that, to me, is where Baylor could, Minnesota could, but I expect these teams to lose. That's going to be, if they have Oregon starting today ahead of Alabama, which I don't see. I see Alabama being 4 based on the I think they'll be 4. But if they do, if the committee, because remember, Rob Mullins, the AD, is ahead of that committee right there. That University of Oregon athletic director is the head of the BCA or the College Football Playoff Committee. If he goes out there and makes that decision, and they put Oregon 4 right now.
Yeah, but Alabama still has a chance to overcome that, because Auburn beat Oregon, and if they beat Auburn, Alabama beats Auburn, there's still a 1 loss,
which is stronger than anyone Oregon has back left.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's where I want to see, and I think it's going to be pretty clear cut today. I think it's going to be LSU 1, Ohio State 2. I think you have Clemson 3 and Alabama 4. I think that's where they're going to put them.
I agree. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Coach, when we come back, I want to get to more on the NFL, get to some of the stories going on right now around some of the contenders. Look at some of the games coming up here this week. We've got a Thursday night football game that's actually gotten a little more intriguing. Pittsburgh and Cleveland, 2 teams that are fighting to stay alive a little bit differently. Pittsburgh's been winning. Baker, they're on a winning streak, I guess you can say.
Yes, they are.
They found a way to get it done after breaking a record 9 plays inside the 3 without scoring. That's not I
don't know how you do that.
That offensive line, I'm sure, did not get dinner from anybody after the game on that one. We're coming back for more. It's Talk Football with Coach K.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text. Stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
America's veterans are more than a source of pride. They're a source of strength. When our veterans thrive, our communities thrive. With your support, our veterans can get career and education opportunities as well as benefits they've earned.
Hello, I'm Senator Marco Rubio. Join me in thanking our nation's veterans. They've given so much. Find out how you can support veterans in our community.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
If you're a small business owner, there's no better place to find the impact hire to help your business than LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends qualified candidates from their community of engaged and career-minded people, candidates who you likely won't be able to reach anywhere else. The truth is, over 70% of the U.S. workforce is on LinkedIn, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting a job on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/sports to get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports for $50 off your first job post. linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante, happy to be with you. Coming up, it will be Go Gators as the Florida Gators. You know, Coach, I was thinking about it. Officially, now nobody's thinking of them. They've sort of taken, that's what we do in the media. We really hype, and everything else goes to the back burner. Like, outside of people in Ohio, not too many people around the country was watching Ohio State win by 60 last week against Maryland because, you know, the president, everything was LSU, Alabama. Now, now this week, it would have been a little bigger if Penn State would have won, but now you got Penn State, Ohio State. We jump right into the mix with all those games that, we move on. We're done with the other ones, and now we're moving on. Auburn versus Georgia, those matchups. But when you look at Florida, they're quiet and not to the standpoint of that they don't deserve to be mentioned with the big dogs because their only 2 losses came at LSU and also to a team in Georgia that's very good. But right now, currently, you know, that game with Georgia, it looks like that game, if Georgia loses this week to Auburn, it's not officially with 2 games left still. Georgia's still got 3 games on their schedule, 2 SEC. So Florida's not officially out of contention. We'll put a little more pressure, but Georgia's not going to lose more than likely 2 games in the SEC. They're not officially out. That's what I'm saying. Now, you know, that for their shot, but they're just going to be happy with where they're at right now. Let's just put it that way.
No, Florida's definitely not officially out.
Officially, but it's going to take a lot of work. It'll take
well, Yeah, but you know what's happening here is they're getting close to having enough wins for one of the major bowls. I say major, I'm talking about either Orange or possibly even Sugar Bowl. But with those types of things, that really helps in every way. It really helps your program. So I'm sure that's what they're aiming at right now is that. And if something should happen, they're going to need a lot of help. But if something should happen, then they've got a path. It's not a very wide path, but they have a path.
They need Georgia to implode, which isn't going to happen. In order, but at the same time, at Missouri, this is a game now. Kelly Bryant was hurt. A game that Florida in the past has had trouble. Missouri's really owned Florida over the last couple of years, but now it's Florida that comes into this game as an 8-point favorite on the road, and a team that, according to ESPN, and this doesn't mean much, you play the game, but there are 75% to 25% chance of Florida winning the game. So I mean, they're expecting Florida to go on the road and now win these games. Yeah. In the past, Missouri would probably be favored by 4 points. The last couple teams we've seen in Florida, the way they played, over before this year, the 8-4, 7-5 type teams that they had. I mean,
I'm not as excited about Missouri as some other people are. Okay, I think they're very middle of the roadish.
Without Brian, and Kelly Bryant wasn't anything over the top special. But their backup is a backup for a reason to him, and he played last week and it just got a charge. And they didn't score 1 point. Georgia's got a really good defense.
Yeah,
but it was 27-0. I mean that's where you expect Missouri to be pretty much in that game. Mm-hmm. Looking at the situation with what's going on in college football, Coach, a lot of good games this week. But if you had to say must-see TV in around the nation, you've got the 3 games that a lot of people will be paying attention to will be Michigan State versus Michigan. Oh, you've got Wake Forest Clemson, even though that's, we're trying to hype this up a little more than it is, but Wake Forest.
It wouldn't be that one for me.
Well, they're 19 in the nation. It's the only actually, and I sort of gave. Okay, I'm laughing saying this. I gave Wake Forest too much credit yesterday. They're 19 in the nation. They're 7-2, and they're the biggest hopeful to beat Clemson. However, I said it was a 28-point spread, which we sort of laughed. It's 33.5. So Clemson's expected. So to put it in perspective for ACC fans, the second best team currently in the ACC right now is a 33.5-point underdog to the number 1 team. So that's where the line is. And this isn't even the best Clemson team. So that's where we're at. Georgia and Auburn to me would be the game of the week, though.
Yeah.
I would say that one, and both have great defenses too. This one should be very intriguing. Do you see?
It should be a very close ball game.
Is Gus Malzahn at this point? How should Auburn fans, if they lose this football game, and let's say because Coach, they're an underdog to 2 teams in Alabama and to Georgia, they will be an underdog. If they finish the season out 8-4, what is the perspective? If you're an Auburn fan, where do you see them? Because fans will start getting mad at that, and really, they've only lost to teams like Florida and LSU so far.
It doesn't matter if it's who it is. There are people that are not going to stand for 8-4 records and 7-5, 8-4. They want Auburn to be to win the SEC and get into the playoff. That's what they want. That's what they expect, and that's what they feel they're going to be able to get to. If they're 8-4, Auburn's 8-4. My guess is they will have a strong contingent out looking for another coach. In fact, I think they're looking for a coach now because they're going to have to compete with some other schools that'll be looking for a coach as well. But I say they're out looking for one. They're identifying somebody they would go after. But I think they would do that. I think the chances are pretty good. They would probably go ahead and get rid of Malzahn and go after somebody. Now, I understand there is some interest, which might be the case, from Arkansas with Malzahn. He's an Arkansas guy, coached right there within a few miles of the campus at I think it was Springdale, one of the high schools there. So anyway, there's some interest there, I understand.
Coach, I want to bring this up with you. Jim Haslett, I know, in town. You had a chance to to give Jim his chance and opportunity in Buffalo. You guys have stayed close, and the former coach of the New Orleans Saints, good guy. He's been in studio here before. Always enjoy when that's happening. Looking forward to having him in studio tomorrow with you. But when you talk with Jim and you look, he coached the Cincinnati Bengals, and right now they're on the path of not only to get the number one pick, they've sort of decided, I think overall the most, that they're ready for the number one pick. Now, whether that's at this moment, like I said, I'm not going down the tanking path. What I'm saying is their personnel-wise, they have decided that they are the weakest link of the NFL based on putting Ryan Finley at quarterback. A.J. Green for a week, he comes out, Monday he comes out and says, I'm back. And then the report on Wednesday, Ryan Finley gets named the quarterback, the NC State rookie, and he goes, oh, man, and he's out again. He's out. So A.J. Green, he's back on the injured IR right there. But you look at that was funny. Cincinnati, though, is now with Miami has found a way to win 2 games. The Redskins they announced that Dwayne Haskins is a starter, so they're battling for the number one pick too, I guess, by doing that. But Coach, is there any way, because every talk we hear is about Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert. You look at a kid like Chase Young, and it seems like he made, the mistake that last week with the loan. It looks like that's going to be okay. He's going to play football. If Ohio State goes on, wins a national title, you get an LSU-Ohio State matchup. Chase Young dominates the football game. Can you see a path where passing up on a quarterback with that number one pick, can a defensive end like Chase Young, because I know those are the 2 most vital parts of a team, but if you're a coach, if you have a for sure thing like a defensive end like Chase Young, is it hard to pass on when you have that pick?
He could certainly be the number one pick, no question about that. And in fact, anybody with his skill set, I'll take it even a step further. What I've heard, not what I've totally witnessed myself, I have seen him play extremely well. A very impressive guy. But, I've heard some people say, well, he's probably the best player in many, many, many years. Could be the best player in many years to follow. So he very well could be the number one pick. The problem there is if you need you need a guy like that, but you need a quarterback. You got to have a quarterback. So do you take them 1, 2? Usually the team that needs one needs the other as well. So that's going to be the dilemma now. And more we hear, the race between, what do they call it, tank for Tua and bomb for barrel. And, it's crazy. But that's going to be interesting. They're both outstanding quarterbacks. I haven't seen enough of the Herbert, but what I understand is he also checks all the squares and is an outstanding quarterback and will be a good pro. So.
Sort of, I pull up NFL draft because I never look at the draft at this time. Too much football going on. But I pull up the NFL draft on ESPN, and it's got a picture of Andy Dalton with his head down walking to the sidelines. That's got to be embarrassing for Andy. Being like, wait a second. So first off, you've deemed us already the team, and then secondly, you're using my face as like the poster child of the future of the NFL.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny, though. If you're Andy, it's like, oh, can you get my photo off there? It's like I have nothing to do with this draft outside of our team. Obviously, is benching me clearly for that number one pick, but I think that's pretty funny. It has nothing to do with the actual draft itself, but they got Dalton with his head down walking off the field as the picture for who gets number one. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more college football. We'll get to our pick'ems. Remember, Auburn and Georgia. Send in our score right now to 850-623-1330. 850-623-1330 is the number for a chance at a $25 gift card to Calvert's. Great place for lunch, NFL package. They got all the big games. A great family-style place. A local place right there off Scenic Highway, and a great place to go. It's right down the road from my house. I know Scott and the folks over there are good people. If you head over there for lunch, dinner, or also a 2 hours with 2 people at the Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, you can check that out on Highway 29. All you got to do is send in your answer right now for Auburn and Georgia. Pick the score and who wins. Put your name on it. Jesse was the winner this week. And Jesse, by the way, if you want to contact us back, we will go ahead and reach out to you right here to make sure that you get to pick up your gift card and everything from last week. Jesse had 42-37. Really close on that game, Coach. right there as LSU by 5 over Alabama. We're coming back for more. It's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Dude, it's game day, and I'm fired up that football is back.
I know, but I'm bummed they don't show my favorite team on TV around here.
All right, well, what about that place Calvert's? They're a really cool English pub-style restaurant, and they have a really good drink menu.
Yeah, but what about the game?
Don't worry, they have the NFL Sunday ticket and plenty of TVs, so we can watch any game that we want.
Ooh, I just looked at the menu, and that Abbey Road burger is calling my name.
Calvert's in the Heights Restaurant and Bar, 3102 East Cervani Street, calvertsintheheights.com.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
At AutoZone, we're all about giving you more ways to get your car in shape for any season. With our AutoZone Rewards program, members get a $20 reward every time they spend $20 or more 5 times, which means you'll have more to spend on safety upgrades, like replacement headlights. Replacing dim headlights can boost your visibility, so you can light up the road and drive with confidence, no matter the weather. See terms at AutoZone.com/rewards. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Whether you're on the construction site or in the office managing properties, Lowe's saves pros of all trades on what you need to get the job done right. Like a Metabo HPT 1 3/4-inch 15-degree pneumatic roofing nailer for $40 less, now just $249. And load up on appliance savings with up to 40% off select appliance special values. For even more ways Lowe's can save your business money, stop in and meet your dedicated pro team today. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Tool offer valid through 11/20. Appliances offer valid through 12/5, U.S. only.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola is your home to UWF Argos football. Catch every game, home or away, on Pensacola's home for local sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Big overtime win yesterday for Seattle as the coach, I hate seeing Mercury Morris's face all over TV because he danced way too much when the Patriots lost to the Giants that year. But I guess officially today, once again, I'm not sure how many of them. They're getting up there in age now, the 72 Dolphins. Some of them have passed, so I'm sure at this point, not all of them were up last night watching until 11:30. midnight. But they once again get to pop the champagne bottles because there officially no undefeated teams left in the NFL.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that team, Coach, you were around the NFL at that time as a player and as a coach during the 70s and 80s and your time through that. Talk about what made that team, because for people like myself, we get to see some greats. We've watched the Patriots, we've watched the Steelers had some great teams. We saw, the greatest show on turf, what the Rams had with Dick Vermeil and Mike Martz and that offense. I mean, those guys were Bruce and Falk and Warner. I mean, that team was fun to watch. But talk about what made the 72 Dolphins that great, or were they just had one of those type of seasons?
No, it was a special season, Chad. And I think the one thing that probably contributed more to that year than anything else was the camaraderie, the single-mindedness. Everybody worked with each other. They had total team football. They played team football. And if you talk to people like Bob Baumhauer, which I've had on the show before, and we'll have him on again, but Bob can tell you, it was, gosh, we had a lot of guys playing together. Everybody knew, and they were smart. They played smart, which was a Shula trademark. Each one knew the other's assignment, and they knew when it was time they needed to help them a little bit more than the other guy, and so on. But doing your job first. That, I think, the togetherness was a big factor. Now, they were talented.
Larry Zonka and all the
keep in mind with Zonka pounding you, and Shula knew that. After 3 quarters of him pounding in there, and listen, people didn't want to talk to him. It's like tackle him. Earl Campbell the same way. The people just did not want to tackle him, and guys would tell you that. They're very honest. That's tough duty.
Well, I'm telling you, it's one that the respect factor for history and to do something even today that no other team has done and go back to 1972 to accomplish it. It just shows the respect of what you were saying of how easy it is to lose any given week in the NFL.
Oh yeah, it's so unusual to go undefeated all the way through the year. Well, again, you're right. That's a great example of it right there.
And the Pats have done it, people, but not for the Super Bowl. I want to make sure.
The Pats should have had it. Yeah.
Gosh,
the helmet
I don't
catch.
Go down that,
the helmet catch, and
one of the worst nights of college of my life, right there. But hey, I'll tell you, it was. It's a team where last night, and I think we all were pretty much clear. San Francisco wasn't going to go undefeated. They were a good team, but there was going to be a game. They weren't.
Yeah.
There's been more dominant teams than them. They're a solid team overall. Does it change any perspective though? Should anybody feel today Seattle is now the front runner for the NFC after seeing that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe somebody does. Maybe somebody who's much brighter at it than I am. But I don't see that at all. Look at the margin of victory and the margin of error involved in each of the games that they've won. It's been very narrow. There's really they should have lost that ball game last night. Truth be known, if you really break it down, look at it. But no, I don't think they're going to be the team to go all the way there.
Well, every single week we have to pick a new team to be the best. That's how it works now in the NFL.
Yeah.
Next week will be the Bengals if they win with. All right, Coach, appreciate it as always, and
good to be with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For Coach K. Stevenson, I'm Chad Brilliante. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, ESPN Pensacola.
Football is here. Catch all of the UWF Argos games and the big NFL games every Saturday and Sunday on Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. If you would like to be a part of ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000 or visit our website at ESPNpensacola.com.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines. In the AFCA Division II polls, UWF, they only slid back 2 spots, coming in ranked at number 22, while Valdosta State, who handed the Argos their second loss of the season, they remain the number 1 ranked team in the nation with a record of 9 wins and 0 losses. In the NFL, Jason Myers hit the game-winning field goal in the final seconds of overtime as the Seahawks beat the San Francisco 49ers 27-24 on Monday Night Football, giving the 49ers their first loss of the season. Jadeveon Clowney had a sack and a fumble return for a touchdown as Seattle improved to 8-2 on the season. Rookie Chase McLaughlin missed a 47-yard field goal that would have won it in overtime. San Fran fell to 8-1. In college football, the college football playoff rankings will be released tonight. Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, and Penn State previously held the top 4 spots last week, but both Bama and Penn State lost on Saturday. That leaves the door open for number 5 Clemson and 6th-ranked Georgia to move up into the top 4. The top 4 at the end of the season will be playing for the national semifinals. In Major League Baseball, a pair of sluggers are celebrating MLB Rookie of the Year awards. Mets first baseman Pete Alonso won the NL after setting a rookie record with 53 home runs. He beat out Braves' Mike Soroka and Padres' Fernando Tatis Jr. Astros outfielder Yordan Alvarez won in the AL, beating out Orioles' John Means and the Rays' Brandon Lau. Tonight, the MLB Manager of the Year awards will be handed out. In the National League, the Milwaukee Brewers' Craig Counsell, the Atlanta Braves' Brian Snitker, and the St. Louis Cardinals' Mike Schilt are the 3 finalists, while in the AL, the 3 finalists are New York Yankees manager Aaron Boone, Tampa Bay Rays manager Kevin Cash, and Minnesota Twins manager Rocco Baldelli. Tomorrow, the Cy Young Award winners will be announced. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines for ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Stephen A. Smith here. If you're like me, you have a mortgage and a family who depends on your income, then you need to protect the ones you love with life insurance. Life insurance can help pay off a mortgage or send the kids to college. It's peace of mind. Think you can afford it? Chances are Select Quote can help you get it for less than $1 a day. Select Quote comparison shops up to 10 highly rated companies, including Prudential, Banner Life, and Mutual of Omaha, and others, to find you the company with the best rates. For example, Select Quote could find a 35-year-old man a $500,000 policy for under $21 a month. That's less than $1 a day. Select Quote's breakthrough technology allows them to quickly match you with the best insurance company to find your best policy. Plus, quotes are free. Start protecting your family today. Call Select Quote at 1-800-601-6992. That's 1-800-601-6992. Or go to selectquote.com/Smith.
Get full details and the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
This is a message for all parents. If you as an adult think it's tough being separated or divorced, have you truly stopped to consider how your being separated or divorced affects your children? How parents treat one another, either during or after divorce, can have lifelong effects on your children. Whether you are separated from your spouse or even actually divorced, in either situation, keep in mind that you and your spouse are parents forever. Hello, my name is Stephen T. Holman, and I am a family law attorney. If you have questions regarding custody, visitation, or child support, call me today for a free consultation at 435-6909. That's 435-6909.
Hi, I'm Kelly Clarkson, and I've toured the country dozens of times, and there's one thing I see everywhere: childhood hunger. The sad truth is that 17 million kids struggle with it. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers up surplus food and gets it to hungry kids. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
To help solve hunger in your community and to find your local food bank, visit feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And welcome back. It is Go Gators right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante with you here, alongside, now joining us, a true Gator. They're like, I don't want to hear that UCF guy talk about Florida Gator stuff. Come on, man. You know? I know where his colors lie. Losing to Tulsa like that, all that hate. Made some comment about Georgia Southern on Facebook. Hey, get him. Go
yeah, you know what? I saw that comment.
Hey. That was a dig.
We're fair game. We're fair game for losing to Georgia Southern. And it doesn't matter how long ago it was.
It was a slight. It was a slight. It was an angry slight that only my brother can get out of me. You know that growing up. You got brothers, and you know you.
Well, I can
know
tell that Brett pushes your buttons.
He pushed it. Yeah, immediately after the loss to Tulsa, there was a comment and a post like, "Ha ha ha! Don't look like any parades after you lose to a bozo team." And then I'm like, okay, you know what?
I would have come back exactly the same way.
And I said it's almost like losing to Georgia Southern, and then that's all I meant. It didn't mean to. It was if a Gator pokes first, my wife doesn't want to hear that, but I always say to her, like, I never cause arguments, but I come back at it. But they're like, I don't care. You have a chance to put out the fire.
I've never
That's all
raised
you need
my
to know.
voice
Exactly.
without provocation.
Yes. See, you get it, but that doesn't. No matter what, you're not winning that argument. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
right.
it doesn't matter if you don't finish it the proper way. That's the truth. It doesn't matter where you started. It's how you finish that battle. And as a competitor, sometimes you got to put your competitive spirit. You talk sports arguments all day, and then you get home and you realize like you don't want to win this argument. Why are you trying to win this argument? You're not going to. So why are you? This is LSU versus McNeese State. This is not LSU Alabama. You don't have a chance to battle in this one. This is your McNeese State here. Let's move on. Looking at the Jeff, congratulations on that big win. And the reason I'm saying that is not because it's a win against Vanderbilt. I'm sure Craig at work was even like, I really, at this point, we understand we were going to lose. I think he's congratulations to his baseball team. That's where, Craig Smith, great guy. But I'm looking at Florida, and it's because that is the Florida Gator team that Gator fans are used to seeing against inferior opponents in the SEC. And that was the feeling because for a long time, the Kentuckys, the Vanderbilts, even the South Carolinas before Spurrier got there, those kind of games were games that you said, you know what, we're going to go in there, we're going to walk in and trounce you. And that's exactly what Florida did this weekend. You could say what you want about Vanderbilt. It was a 20-something point spread. They won 56-0. They doubled the spread. And what they did is they said, you know what, we're going to show that we, just like they did against Tennessee, 35-3, just like they've done against the inferior opponents, they're dismantling them since that game against Miami where we all sort of crossed our arms and was like, we know this team's got to be better than this. For that, I think Gator fans should be proud because that's the Gator team that is capable of dominating a team like Vanderbilt.
Well, the Gators have 7 legitimate kind of starters at wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And so they've got to rotate those guys. When they go 4 wide, they get 4 of them on the field. When they go 3 wide, they get 3 on the field. 2 wide with Kyle Pitts, so those guys are thirsty. Those guys are hungry for touches, and they can't get enough touches. The running backs can't get enough touches. And so, it's like, well, I only got 3 touches today. I mean, you got Kadarius Toney coming back. He got 2 touches yesterday and made the best of it. But those guys, they want to put some stats on the books, and so they're hungry for every game now. Last year against Missouri, they kind of fell into a funk after losing to Georgia and kind of been rooted out of the SEC East race. But that's not going to happen very much in the future, I don't think, because the Gators will have enough talent that nobody's going to get lazy. They're going to rotate those guys and get them in there. Jacob Copeland had a couple catches yesterday. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jacob Copeland's going to be one of the primary receivers next year. So he's got to be ready to come play along with Kyle Pitts and some of the other guys. Toney probably won't go pro. Grimes is kind of up in the air, but there's 4 seniors that are all gone, and the running backs, they've got 4 of them that are hungry for carries, and they're going to try to max out every chance they get. Kyle Trask just doesn't let up. He's playing the game the same way he did in the first quarter as he does in the fourth quarter, and Emory Jones is hungry for touches, and so I don't think you'll find the Gators falling asleep. They certainly didn't fall asleep against Vanderbilt. They were played 8 quarters. They'd probably beaten them 112-0.
Jeff, I want to ask you about a guy. We'll move on. This won't take up too much time. I want to get into some of the college football talk with you as well, based on the scenario. A lot of SEC teams will be shaking it up over the next couple of weeks, especially this week with Auburn and Georgia. But I want to ask you, Vernon Hargreaves. Today he was released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a great talent. I mean, he's been a great talent since he's been at Florida, but there was a lack of hustle on plays. Bruce Arians saw it. It was an over-the-top play as the wide receiver went right by him, and Arians said, I saw what looked like a half you-know-what effort, and he said at that point pulled him, and now he's released 2 weeks, after that game. Did you see that from him when he was at Florida? Was it like one of those athletes? Because there are athletes, and we all know them. We all know Leonard Fournette doesn't have that. He's not a bad dude, and Leonard Fournette seems like a nice guy, actually. But you watch him sometimes, and you're like, why can't you always get that Leonard Fournette? That one guy, because we know he can go into freak mode at any time. And some are injuries, like Dalvin Cook was hurt. Dalvin Cook's healthy right now, and he's the best running back in the NFL. But you watch some guys sometimes, and you go, man, if you played like that all the time, you'd be that much better and more. Like, how many times for 15 years we said, if Carmelo Anthony played defense in the NBA, he might, and we realized that never was going to happen. I look at Vernon Hargreaves, and he had all the talent in the world. What did you see that from him when he was at Florida, though?
You say he had all the talent in the world. He was a top 10 recruit if you looked at Rivals and ESPN and Scout.com and, the rest. 247, I think, was around back then. But when he got to Florida, he was a really good player. Maybe not an elite player, though. Maybe not quite what people thought he was. He was still a high first-round draft pick for the Bucs, and he's been there ever since.
He was 11th pick in the draft, yeah.
And he may have, a lot of times these players, after they've been around for 5, 6, 7 years, and they've got, more than $10 million in the bank, they kind of lose their drive a little bit, and they loaf, or maybe take some plays off.
Nah, not in today's NFL. Come on.
And so that's probably what they were seeing. And Hargreaves was not an elite NFL player. He was a kind of a run-of-the-mill NFL player, maybe a little bit above average. And yeah, he's got a lot of talent, but I don't think he ever had the elite talent. I think that was a little bit overblown.
Yeah.
And so, this is the first I've heard of him getting released today. But
it just happened about 20 minutes ago.
But it probably doesn't surprise me that much. And there's probably more to it than just him loafing on one play. It's probably a kind of a body of work that Arians has kind of observed over the course of a year. It would be my guess.
So we've got Jeff Driscoll and we've got Jacoby Brissett, and they're playing out there in the NFL. Are those guys always Gators to you guys? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Anybody that was a Gator for 1 year is going to be a Gator.
And played, too.
Sure, yeah. I mean, those guys transferred. Well, it was funny because Brissett left because Driscoll beat him out. And then Driscoll left because he got beat out. And so, or didn't feel comfortable with the new coaching regime. And so it's to me, they're all Gators. If they're Gator for a year, they're still Gator.
Yeah, and it's always fun seeing the Driscoll watch in the NFL. Has he appeared this week?
Well, Driscoll actually did throw a touchdown pass yesterday.
I
think he kind of stumbled around for 3 quarters and finally got it together.
Well, how about the Matthew Stafford? And he actually had the current record for 136 consecutive games. But anytime you read a report that you have broken bones in your back, okay, man, you're okay.
Yeah, but what was weird is that I heard a report that went back to last year.
Yeah.
And so, you got to wonder why he hadn't had the surgery earlier, or they haven't diagnosed it earlier than this. Or they're just going like, well, Patricia's probably going like, okay, we're not going to, grab a playoff spot. So let's go ahead and shelf him and get that back right.
I'm just thinking about it in my brain about, like, if you have a 6'5", 330-pound DN coming at you or defense tackle and he hits you, that hurts as it is. Even today's rules where you can't even really land on the quarterback. But with that being said, imagine having that happen and getting sandwiched between two guys like that, two just massive heathens of a football player, to have a moment where you have broken bones already in your back. I could just the thought of that hurts. It hurts my back just thinking of that you have broken bones in your back and guys are just crushing you into the turf play after play. So that's got to be.
Yeah. Well, that this probably will refresh Stafford a little bit to be able to sit out the rest of the year, and may not the rest of the year. He may be back in 2 weeks. I mean, because they haven't put a timetable on it.
No.
But
he might be back in 2 weeks. We'll see.
That's
we'll see.
it.
Yeah, we'll just see if we.
That's
that wasn't really going on too much of a limb. That was an easy one right there. But
that's softball.
And nobody wanted to hear. Looking at the Arkansas firing Chad Morris, I heard today, and we've mixed emotions. People weigh in on our social media, on Facebook all the time, and somebody was saying, "Hey, we're giving up on coaches too soon." And you know what? I get that. I would agree with that broad term. I would agree with that terminology. However, there's sometimes writing is on the wall. To me, the biggest thing with me on everything today is people don't think for themselves. People want to be told. They want to go home, and if they're one side, they're raised one side. They want to watch everything on MSNBC, and just whatever they say is right, and what everybody watches on Fox News, whatever they say is right, and everything ESPN says, whatever they say is right. Stephen A. came out today, and look, Stephen A. just became the richest person in sports. He just passed Michael Greenberg right there for the highest paid guy right now in broadcasting that does shows. He's going to make like $8 million a year. So with that being said, tip of the cap, got to work with Stephen A. when he was down here at the old ESPN. Kudos to you for getting to that point. However, when you come out like you did this morning and Stephen A. says to a guy about Jimmy Garoppolo, he is the reason why he's hurting them. He's holding them back is what he's doing. You're going, dude, this team was terrible without him. Last year when he got hurt, Nick Mullins and all these guys threw the same Bredas and all those same guys out there. Pettis was there. There was still George Kittle. There were all the players, same linemen, a lot of the same defense players outside of Bosa and Sherman. And one difference was it wasn't Garoppolo, and that team went 3-13 last year. So you really think that guy's the problem that was 8-0 going into this game from a 3-13 roster with pretty much the same personnel, but he's the problem? Let's start using a little education before you throw out names like that. He's not the problem. He had a bad football game, and they still would have won in overtime if the kicker doesn't duck hook it. So, I mean, we get to a point where sometimes people say things and it's ridiculous, but to the fact with Arkansas and other things, we need to start thinking. Chad Morris didn't only not win a football game at Arkansas in the SEC. He also got dismantled by teams that aren't in the Power 5. I mean, teams like Western Kentucky and North Texas last year and San Jose State that they pretty much pay almost to come play them. And they're getting beat. They're getting dominated by these teams. Enough is enough at one point.
Well, Lou Holtz, of course, coached at Arkansas for a couple of years, and he said, Arkansas is not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And so, listen, yes, they shouldn't lose to UNLV or to Western Kentucky. The roster's not what Chad Morris wants. And really, are they going to ever be able to compete in the SEC West when you've got Alabama and Auburn and LSU and Texas A&M? Even the Mississippi schools are superior. From a perception perspective than Arkansas right now. So how do you get Arkansas to that level? I mean, Bielema was able to get him to a certain respectable level and maybe go to bowl games. But gosh, I mean, that's a graveyard job. Apologies to Arkansas fans out there that may be listening, but that's a dead end. I mean, it's not surprising that you would have sub 500 records every year at Arkansas. I mean, there's only like 4 Division I recruits in the whole state, so you got to go to Texas and Oklahoma. Now, you're not in the Big 12 anymore, so you can't. There's no connection with Texas or some of the surrounding states, and so where do you go? Do you try to go rob Mississippi or Alabama or Tennessee? No, you're picking off second tier recruits, and you're not going to out recruit anybody. The next guy needs to get $5 million a year because he'll probably get fired in 2 years as well.
Yeah, whatever you want to say about the teams, the records, the actual in-game play, one thing we know is 100%. It's actually almost. I mean, it's factual. It's not even opinion. The hardest conference to battle in recruiting is the SEC, and the hardest division is by far the SEC West. You're going up against Alabama. You're going up against Auburn. You're going up against teams like LSU. Texas A&M is top 10 in recruiting now. I've just named 4 teams in the top 10 in the country in recruiting, and they're all out of the West. That only leaves room for 2 other teams that aren't named Arkansas, and those teams are Ole Miss and Mississippi State, where they brought in a lot of money for guys, remember, you still have some of the baggage where there was smoke, there was a ton of fire, where Hugh Freeze was getting 5 stars to come over there that were playing for a couple different colors and green. And then you had another guy that, did I say that? But then then you also had Mississippi State that was bringing in Joe Moorhead, had the expectations, were top 25 consistently. So you got to be realistic with your terms. You're not, I mean, if you go to a place like Vegas and you go to a place where everybody's up there and it's a bikini show in Vegas, don't walk in there and be like, well, I'm going to just walk in and ask all of these girls. And, unless you are Mr. Playboy or Vince McMahon or, you're not going to be walking in there and just, hey, let me point to everybody up here. Got to be realistic with your terms of where you are. And in this case here, if you're Arkansas, going 6-6 would be pleasant. The problem is, I don't even mind that they didn't win the games in the SEC. It was the way they got beat, and you can't be getting destroyed at home by teams that took your quarterback and Story that couldn't make he pretty much wasn't their man, goes to a smaller school, and then beats you by 30 in your own home. That's unacceptable. I mean,
right. And, the only way I think Arkansas can get out of this is whenever this likeness thing comes through, and then you've got the Waltons of Walmart fame. And they go like, hey, we're going to pay that guy $1 million for his likeness, and that guy $1 million for his likeness, and that guy $1 million for his likeness, and that guy. We're going to put him up in all the Walmart stores, and we're going to win the national title. And it's possible. I mean, with this new, likeness thing, it's all bets are off.
Well, how about also with you get a chance with Arkansas, you could do, that's where Jerry Jones went. And why don't we do, just like with hologram Elvis, they have them in certain places around there, we can do hologram Jerry Jones. Stroke his ego. Just say, Jerry, we'll put you on the sidelines in a hologram form. You can be in Frisco. You could be getting ready for the Cowboys game. But we're just going to let you sit there. We're going to put you on the sidelines, your hologram version, and you get to talk, but you just donate as much money, as much cash as possible to us. Okay, deal. Sounds good.
That's a great, talking about Jerry Jones, I'm not a Dallas Cowboy hater. I'm neutral on him. But I do like to watch Jerry Jones squirm whenever they're about to get beat at the end of the game, because they're going to put the camera on him, and he's going to look like a deer in the headlights.
Was that the most subliminal message ever to get Mike Zimmer to be their next coach, maybe? Did you every other word out of him, they're like, Jerry, what did you think of Dak's performance? That was okay. Mike Zimmer did an incredible job with that team today. He really came, and he outcoached us. He outplayed. I'm like, okay. And then next question, Jerry, how are the kids doing? Be like, Mike Zimmer is one guy that when he ran the offensive, I'm like, okay, well, there you go. You heard that right there.
Well, there's another. Jerry Jones is an Arkansas grad, so maybe he can throw some more additional money on top of this likeness thing.
Hey, look, it's
and bribe kids to go to Arkansas, and they'll be fine.
Not even the gods from Hog Heaven can do anything on this one. When we come back, they're baseball school, folks. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little more. This is Go Gators. We'll get to more from Dan Mullen. We'll also hear more on this week's game. Number 10 in the nation, the Florida Gators. They'll see where they get ranked in the College Football Playoff Committee. Not as much. They're sort of sitting back and waiting like we all are, sort of like the Florida State head coaching search. And we're going to see. This week against Missouri, though, a 7.5-point favorite out there in Columbia, something that they haven't been able to say over the past few years. We're coming back for more. It's Go Gators on ESPN Pensacola, brought to you by the Holman Law Firm.
The new Michelin silicone plates last through everything.
On a world record-breaking drive from Alaska to South America in unpredictable conditions.
Thunderstorms, ice storms, they just don't quit.
Rainier Zeitlo chose Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades with advanced Quad-Tech 4-layer coated silicone that repels water, snow, and ice and lasts 2 times longer than other blades.
It's coming down in sheets.
Real world proven. Extreme weather wiping performance. Upgrade to Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades today. Only at Walmart.
This human resources professional is crushing it, thanks to Kronos. And this is his hype song.
I've got HR, payroll, talent, and time.
I'm on the top, I'm gonna rise up. Now we are
engaging all the best people.
Blast off to the front of the field. This is
Kronos, HR solutions for the modern workforce. Learn more at kronos.com/HR swagger.
Hi, I'm Kelly Clarkson, and I've toured the country dozens of times, and there's one thing I see everywhere: childhood hunger. The sad truth is that 17 million kids struggle with it. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers up surplus food and gets it to hungry kids. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
To help solve hunger in your community and to find your local food bank, visit feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Sports Call with Davis and Justin.
Every single game, I have been wrong. I have been dead wrong.
I have been so wrong.
Top sports stories, the biggest games.
With Houston's lineup and their roster, you know that they're all really dedicated. The chemistry is there, and they're hard to beat.
The weekends are made for sports, so catch Sports Call with Davis and Justin every Saturday from 11 to 1 on Pensacola's home for sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330, FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It is Go Gators right here on ESPN Pensacola. Having some fun with you here. This is pretty cool, by the way. I randomly found it. It is all of the best marching bands playing all songs, like all the classics today, like the pop or hip-hop songs or any of that. Like this is, I guess you're going to hear me roar by somebody. I don't know. Who sings that? Is it Katy Perry, I think, or something? But, yeah, they do all these different classics and stuff. And as the music man, Jeff, I'm sure – you would,
you
like a good marching band.
Yeah. I mean, I don't listen to a whole lot of pop music, so I
Yeah.
might not recognize some of them. But that, what a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, to have marching bands.
I think my daughter would
play.
something like this. She would like this, I
rock and
think. There you go. So, see, like now I don't even have to take her to the movies. I'll just play this in the background while we're driving. She's like, Daddy, is that Frozen? Be like, oh, yeah. I got this under
great.
control.
You can just sit in the parking lot.
That's right.
Don't even have to go in. It's like
Saves $20 on popcorn, just do this right here.
We were going to the movie theater, but we're really now going to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Speaking of Frozen right now, Alabama loses to LSU, and now we're sitting here in a situation where they pretty much are on the outside looking in. And what I mean by that is they're going to need some help. And a lot of the help will play itself out. They're like, can you turn off Frozen while this – okay, here we go. So Alabama is in a situation where if a certain amount of teams win, meaning if Baylor won out, if Minnesota won out, if Ohio State, there's a lot of teams that are going to put them in jeopardy. I clearly think it's in –
Well, here's what I think.
I think they should be 4 right now. I think they should be 4 currently.
4, but here's where they're in jeopardy. It looks like Ohio State's going to win out. It looks like Clemson will win out.
Let's mark that down.
We're going to have an SEC champ. It's either going to be Georgia or it's going to be LSU. And the winner of that game gets a spot. And if the loser of that game is LSU,
then they're going to go over Alabama, yeah.
They're still in play.
Oh, they should go probably, I'd hope.
But the committee has now positioned Oregon and Utah, in the like a 6-7 slots now. And so you could find a situation where Alabama stays 4 for the next several weeks, and then whenever the Pac-12 title game, the winner of that jumps over Alabama and grabs a spot. Now, that won't be based on the eye test because Alabama's probably going to win that.
Yes.
And it won't be based on recruiting rankings because Alabama will win that. It won't be based on what Vegas says would happen at a neutral site between the teams, but it might be based on resume, and those teams will have more quality wins than Alabama. Alabama will have one quality win if they win out, and that's over Auburn.
2 big things have to happen this week, and I think it's hilarious, but because I'd say the most hated rivalry when it comes to people shooting each other in Birmingham at a Roll Tide party or Alberta.
I thought it was actually in Oregon.
Well, yeah, there was actually there was a couple. I think on the Feinbaum show I heard it going to go off at last month. But during the whole entire thing with Auburn and Alabama they got to root for Auburn. They have to root for Auburn severely this week. And then you're like, not severe. Don't throw that word in there. Don't you do that to me. Like, I would put you – because for two reasons. If Auburn goes out there and they beat Georgia, first off, that probably eliminates Georgia from contention. More than likely, even with 2 losses, it's going to be really hard for them to get in. But secondly, though, it also gives Auburn a big boost where if Auburn goes out there and they go out and they win at home and they're all confident and they're jumping around like, yeah, saving Gus Malzahn's like, whoo, that proverbial hot seat's not even, it's not even going to be here anymore. So all of a sudden they go up there and they play Alabama a couple weeks later, and Alabama goes out and trounces them. Now Alabama looks like the big dog again, and that's their last moment. They just get to sit back.
That's right.
They take the photos in the end zones like they all do, like the NFL guys do, and then they sit down and they get to relax and wait for the committee to make their decision. And if that's the last moment you have them, because right now we live in the moment. Look, you got Garoppolo. Stephen A. saying Garoppolo is a cancer to them. They were just 8-0 last week. They were the only unbeaten team in the league. You have people one week saying Sam Darnold's the best player, and the next week he's seeing ghost and he's a bum. Like, we live week to week in all sports. So right now everybody's like, the hate party's out. It's immediately, I'm looking at this, Joe Burrow is clearly the Heisman, which I think I would agree with that. But then also it's now in the draft. Tua's like, well, we'll see if he slides to like in the middle of the first round, and now it's like Joe Burrow won, yeah. Like next week they lose, and it's like Justin Herbert, yeah. Like that's what we do. So if you're sitting here as a fan, as an Alabama fan, you got to hope that last moment is a significant win against Auburn, because it's going to come down to that. Because more than likely Oregon or Utah is going to have one loss, and that's going to be a tough decision. Oklahoma, even though they could have lost last week if they call PI in the end zone, Oklahoma, with one loss winning the Big 12 is a conversation, because they'll have to beat Baylor, the teams at the end of the season, and Texas has to play Baylor. There's a lot of games left. This is going to be very intriguing over the next couple weeks.
Alabama chances would have been enhanced had Iowa State made that 2-point conversion.
Big time, yeah.
And rubbed Oklahoma State out of the equation. That would have rubbed the Big 12. And listen, I think Baylor's what is it? 7-point underdog to Oklahoma, playing at home or something, a 10-point underdog. And then Minnesota's a 3-point underdog this weekend at Iowa.
I saw that.
Those teams are just, they're not overwhelmingly talented. They're resourceful, and they've done a great job this year, and they've won every game. But they're not that good.
No. We said the same thing about Penn State. I mean, and it wasn't a knock on Penn State, but it was. Let's be realistic to where you are. Florida's realistic that you're good, you're a very solid team, but you're not the elite of the elite just yet. You're very close.
Right.
But I would still, if Florida played if Florida played Penn State, I would give Florida about -4 or 5 right now.
If Florida played Baylor or Minnesota neutral site, Florida would be favored.
Same over Penn State, barely, but I think by 3 or 4 points.
Right, by marginal points, but they'd be favored. There's no question about it. Now, Florida playing a neutral site against Georgia is a 6.5-point underdog.
Alabama would probably be 10.
Yes, exactly. And LSU was 14 in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And so there's a pecking order, and sometimes it's improbable that you keep beating that pecking order every time. I mean, Minnesota, now that was the first team they've played. I think they played the worst 5 teams in the Big Ten, and then they'd played 3 non-conference foes that weren't very good. And then that was really their first win, their first marquee win against Penn State. And that was at home by 5 points in a tight game. And so, listen, they can't compete with Ohio State, the Ohio State that we've seen.
Ohio State looks really good. I mean, and I know, do they have the type of Ryan Day's a nice guy, but do they have the type of team? Because there's 2 styles of teams, too. When great teams play, and they are one of the great teams right now in college football. When a great team, though, plays against an inferior opponent, really is up to the coach how much you want to slaughter that team by. And what I mean by that is, you can go out there and you can win the old fun and gun and Spurrier, some of those teams, like they could have pulled they could have put the foot off the gas pedal and maybe won a game 38-10, but instead they won 56-10, and that's what you're seeing. Ohio State's beating teams by 60, but once you get past 30 or 40, it's really up to the coach. Most of those players on the field are like going through the motions at that point.
Right,
so,
and Chad, coming weekend,
they're playing Rutgers.
We've got the nightmare scenario.
Oh, my
They're
gosh.
51.5-point favorite over Rutgers, and that's like counting on Ohio State to call off the dogs in the third quarter. I mean, it's literally. I mean, that's the biggest mismatch that I can remember in in college football history.
Yeah.
I mean, relative to D1 versus D1. I mean, you've probably seen some D1 versus 1AA matchups that might have had a larger spread than that, a bootleg spread that you get off, in the islands, the Cayman Islands.
It would be pretty funny to put Rutgers in the highest teaser I think they have in Vegas or Biloxi is 13 points, but to make Rutgers plus 64 and just sit back, because literally at that point you have to, if like there's one mistake made by Ohio State, like a fumble for a touchdown or anything, then at that point it's almost impossible to get to one bad play and you're going to cover 64.
Well, so. Greg Schiano actually elevated that Rutgers program.
Yes.
Years ago. I mean, 10, 12.
And he might get to do it again.
And may get to do it again. But that's again, now they're in the Big Ten and the sledding is much more difficult. And so unless you can just throw like a net around the state of New Jersey and like keep every player in there, then you're not going to be competitive. And so, it doesn't matter. It's like Arkansas. It doesn't matter who goes there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could put Vince Lombardi there, and they're not going to win.
And I know it's 2019, Jeff, but Scarlets not looking as fancy on those nights these days. I'm just saying. When we come back, Heather is golden apparently in Orlando. So, thanks, Tulsa. Coming back for more right here. It's Go Gators on ESPN Pensacola.
This is a message for all parents. If you as an adult think it's tough being separated or divorced, have you truly stopped to consider how your being separated or divorced affects your children? How parents treat one another, either during or after divorce, can have lifelong effects on your children. Whether you are separated from your spouse or even actually divorced, in either situation, keep in mind that you and your spouse are parents forever. Hello, my name is Stephen T. Holman, and I am a family law attorney. If you have questions regarding custody, visitation, or child support, call me today for a free consultation at 435-6909. That's 435-6909.
Whether you're on the construction site or in the office managing properties, Lowe's saves pros of all trades on what you need to get the job done right. Like a Metabo HPT 1 3/4 inch 15-degree pneumatic roofing nailer for $40 less, now just $249. And load up on appliance savings with up to 40% off select appliance special values. Plus, for one day only, save an additional 5% just by using your Lowe's business credit account. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Tool offer valid through 11/20. Appliance offer valid through 12/5. Credit offer valid 11/12. Subject to credit approval. Exclusions apply. U.S. only.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns. And that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It is Go Gators right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Joining us, Jeffrey D. Jeff Davis, Florida Gator alumni. Gators versus Missouri this week. Now the Gators 8-2. Let's talk a little bit about that Vanderbilt game. Not too much into detail. A lot of people. I mean, it was LSU versus Alabama week, and the president was there, and it was exciting, and the emotion. I mean, that was the game everybody built up. So a lot of people outside of the Gator fans weren't watching that game in particular, but talk about it, because I think a lot of people made the trip. I'm sure a number of people that made that trip still over there to Gainesville and enjoyed a nice victory.
And Vanderbilt's made games historically uncomfortable for the Gators. I remember the first two national championship teams that the Gators had in '96. Danny Werfel was playing in Nashville, and the Gators won 28-21 and had to hold Vanderbilt off on a last drive to win that game. That's maybe the greatest team in Gator history. A team that beat Florida State by 32 points for the national title. And then the 2006 team, Chris Leak, quarterback, Gators up 6, 25-19, and had to stave off a late Vanderbilt drive. Vanderbilt got inside the 30 and would have like rubbed that Gator team out. The Gators went on and beat Ohio State by 27 points for the national title. So Vanderbilt's always been a thorn in the Gators' side. They don't frequently beat the Gators. In fact, they've only beaten them once in the last 28 years, but they make it very, very uncomfortable. But this game was different. And I mentioned the Gators are hungry. They got so many guys that need touches. And so the Gators came out, and Vanderbilt was working on their third-string quarterback, so they weren't going to move the ball. And the Gators had a unique third quarter. They scored 28 points. And every play that the Gators ran was either a first down or a touchdown. And so they had over 200 yards of offense in the third quarter alone.
Wow.
And just buried Vanderbilt.
Well, you were saying that one. They rubbed that one out on 2006 against Jay Cutler's Vanderbilt team, correct?
No, that 2000 Jay Cutler was a different year. I think that was maybe 2007 or 8 or 9 or somewhere in there. But the 2006 team was in odd years you play at Vanderbilt. That Cutler year was playing in Gainesville.
I was at that game.
And it was the fact the Gators won
49-42
in
the back of the end zone. They spread 5 wide by the goal in the back of the end zone. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, Vanderbilt...
Wasn't that a 2-point conversion they were trying to get to tie it?
Well, here's what was happening. Florida went up 42-35 in the first overtime, and then Vanderbilt scored. It was 42-41. But one of the Vanderbilt receivers started doing a little dance in the end zone, and so they ended up penalizing it 15 yards. So instead of 2-point conversion to 2, they would have to try from the 17. So they just kicked the extra point.
I was in college for that, so I remember half
that game.
Went
to double overtime.
It was a little blurry.
The Gators ended up winning. That might have been 05. It was one of the odd number of years.
Yeah, it was right around that time. But yeah, those were some fun years back there. You had Jared Lorenzens running around. You had a lot of good quarterbacks. It was
Jared Lorenzen was back like late 90s, early 2000s, and I remember him racing up and down the field against the Gators. The Gators won like 51-38 or something like that in Gainesville, and it was like, can we stop this guy? And the guy already weighed 350 pounds at that point. And we couldn't stop the guy. That was before his arena football years.
As a Florida fan, you look at the matchups coming up. You got Missouri left; they're 8-2, and then you got Florida State. Is there any? I mean, look, they just went out there and they beat Boston College. But is there any now that the game's at home this year? Odell has them. I think they play harder for Odell than having Willie Taggart anywhere near the sidelines. That's probably a positive. It's not a lot, but it's a positive for Florida State.
Well, and I was listening to a Florida State podcast, and they were saying, like, listen, Willie was trying to kind of rein in what the offense was doing a little bit, or meddling too much with what Briles was coming up with, and so Briles now is unshackled because Odell's like, hey, just go do what you normally do. I'm not gonna question anything. It's your baby. You can make all the offensive calls.
They're going to be bowl eligible if they got their signs. We want Bama State.
Well,
Alabama. If they win this week,
are.
they're 6.
They're
6-5
eligible
if they win this week. Yeah,
and
they
so
should.
They will, and they'll get and then they got to worry about winning the bowl game because they don't want to go 6-7, and now that's assuming Florida beats them, but Florida ought to be a prohibitive favorite in that game, and so we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Florida State upsetting the Gators, but I think it's a really long shot at this point.
From a local standpoint, when you look at Kyle Trask, a career high. I'm not going to put too much emphasis, like I said, against the 2-7 Vanderbilt, but it was a win. And one of the things is, so many guys getting involved in the game. Jacob Copeland had that 37-yard catch. What is going forward? Because Copeland is one of many. They've got, Cleveland and Jefferson and guys, just athletes all over the field. Hammond, and when you look right now, he's a freshman. So how much impact do you see him going forward? And does he have the potential?
Huge impact, Chad.
To be a guy that could make the NFL one day?
Listen, absolutely.
Okay.
Jacob Copeland's got unlimited talent, and everybody down there knows it. They're like, man, this guy's a stud. I mean, he's maybe the most talented guy other than Kyle Pitts on the offense. But you're right. We've got Hammond and Swain and Jefferson and Cleveland are all seniors. That's 4 of the top 7.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are gone. Then you've got Copeland, Pitts is a tight end, so I'm not counting him in the 7. But you got Copeland, and you've got Tony, and you've got Grimes. Grimes and Tony are both juniors, so they can come back. They don't know if they're going to come back yet or not. Those guys could potentially go pro, and the Gators are down 6 of their top 7 receivers for this year. Now, they will have Copeland. They will have Pitts.
More than likely one of the 2 of those.
They've got some kids that they're redshirting, like Weston, who have unlimited ability, like 6'5", 6'6", and go high point the ball. And they're just got those guys on the shelf for now. Rick Wells. I mean, so they've got some guys that can really play. That will have to get integrated in the offense next year. Now, you'll have Trask back next year too, because he's probably not on the. Now he may be creeping up on the draft boards now. I mean, the guys playing incredibly well, and so people are going like, you know what, this is a pro style quarterback that delivers the ball on time, and doesn't make that many mistakes, and is smart, and has been under the radar because we've never seen him play until the 3rd game of this year.
Maybe they're listening to the Sports Drive for the last couple of years with me talking about that.
Yeah, well, you know what? Listen, I got to give kudos to you because, you said, they probably should be starting Trask. I'm going like, come on, man, that Trask can't run. Franks can take off and get you 5 yards or bull his way into the end zone. But after watching Trask play, Gators don't beat Kentucky unless Felipe Franks gets hurt. I mean, that's the truth. And he came in and beat him 19-0 in the 4th quarter.
And that was a pivotal turning point for the rest of the season,
it was.
too. And everything go. And the confidence, too. Look, for Florida right now, and it helps. And I'm not even going to bring them up anymore as much, but UCF, they're not in the picture right now, especially losing to Tulsa. Florida State doesn't have their head coach yet. Miami is still trying to figure it all out. They look good this week against Louisville, but they, in TW, I'm sure it's happy. But right now, they still got things to figure out. Jeff, Florida right now, for the first time in a while, they're the team to beat right now. They own Florida right now, meaning that they are the team of Florida. And they haven't been able to say that confidently in the past decade compared to this. They've always got good recruits, but right now they only aren't getting good recruits. They're also the best team. And with that being said, they've got that pecking order, and Georgia, they were able to win that game, but Georgia's always going to be okay in recruiting with Kirby Smart. They're always going to. That offensive line is unfair. I mean, that's the biggest offensive line I've seen in college football.
They neutralized the Gator defensive ends. They were both back for that game. Now they weren't 100%, but they were both back for that game, and those 2 Georgia offensive tackles who'll play in the NFL were able to control them and keep them off of Fromm. And Fromm's got that little mercurial wiggle that, if he gets any pressure at all, he can find his way through.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
he needs to teach Phillip Rivers that video.
He can scramble for the first down. He can stop short and dump the ball off to somebody. 12 of 18 for 3rd down conversion speaks for itself. Now I saw where the line for Georgia at Auburn this week has now dropped to 2.5.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And so the guys out in Vegas or the general public are thinking, hey, it's either the sharps or the population that's betting it down. So
that could be a grind. We just saw a shootout. This one has the potential to be a real true grinder because both defenses are very good.
Oh, absolutely. And Auburn's healthy on defense for the most part. So
you could argue.
Listen, Georgia doesn't. I mean, they max out at about 27.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're not going to run the score up on anybody. I mean, they scored 21 points against Kentucky, and they scored 30 against Vanderbilt, and they scored 24 against Florida. And these guys aren't running up scores.
You can argue, and you could also argue a few other teams like Florida or LSU or Alabama, but you could argue that last week we saw it wasn't even an argument. LSU and Alabama are the 2 best offenses probably in the country with Ohio State and Oklahoma.
Right.
But you could argue Auburn and Georgia are the 2 best defenses in the SEC.
Absolutely. There's no question. I think maybe Georgia's the best. Georgia is so deep on defense and so sound at every position. I mean, you just don't find a weakness. Their corners and their safeties and their linebackers, and they rotate 10 guys on the defensive front. I mean, those guys are really, really good. Auburn probably has the most frontline talent. If you took the top 11 Auburn's as good as anybody in the country.
Yeah, they got two first-rounders on the defensive line, and they're showing it this year. The games they win, look at the scores. They're like 16-15, 24, 21-17. They grind it out, and in today's college football world, that's not easy to do because it's people are scoring.
You know what? In that game, I see Nick's doing a little bit less against that Georgia defense than I see Fromm doing against Auburn's defense. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I think it's probably a 24-20 type of deal or 20-17, but I think Georgia will kind of eke that game out. Malzahn deserves a win. That's a really good football team, and they're having to play LSU and Florida on the road. And
but they got Oregon out of conference. It's all good.
That's right. They did beat Oregon.
No, I mean, just that schedule.
I think Oregon's going to get brownie points at the end of the year for being willing to step out of conference and go play them.
I agree. And two, let's all use our brains on this. Like, yes, winning is the number one goal of everything. But see, we want to use that until we don't. And what I mean is we use that reference until we want to go to Clemson against North Carolina, and we're like, oh my gosh, but did you see Clemson almost got beat by North Carolina? It'd be like, yeah, but they won, right? And the same argument you're using for Oregon losing to Auburn, you're using to counter for Clemson and North Carolina. And the thing is, Oregon looked like the better football team for 3.5 quarters against Auburn. They did. I mean, it's week one, so things you're figuring. You had a true freshman quarterback, his first ever start with Bo Nix. So they're better today. Auburn's a better football team than week one. However, Oregon was the team in charge of most of that game, and then Auburn battled back and got 2 drives, and Oregon had a chance to pick up 1 yard and take a knee, and they couldn't. They went backwards, and they lost that game. So nobody left that game like, oh, they got lucky. South Carolina beat Georgia, and you sit back and you're like, wow, they had a pick. They got pretty lucky, and then they lose to App State. And, God, how do you miss that guy? Regardless of the hold at the end, how do you miss that guy? I've got a picture of it here, by the way. We put a picture. This is not too many people Tasca was watching it. She's a big Auburn fan. I'm not Auburn. I mean Appalachian State, so congratulations there. But what a terrible miss. Look at this picture.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was. He was as Mick Hubert said, he was quarantined.
If you miss this 1 second to go in the game, and your team, how does that happen? By the way, that's not supposed to happen on defense?
Yeah, Appalachian State played a great game, and then they blew that coverage at that point in the game.
There are 6 guys.
That's their best receiver. That's South Carolina's best receiver.
I'll post this photo for everybody that they can see on Facebook. But there are 6 guys for Appalachian State, and they're not within 15 yards. That's 15 yards right there. They're not within of one guy wide open by himself in the end zone. But these other 6 guys aren't actually covering anybody.
And that's
like a punt formation.
That snapshot's with 1 second on the clock.
But the worst part of the whole story, they missed the throw here. They overthrew him into the end zone. He didn't even score that. I mean, your grandmother with her knee, I mean, playing like some guy that was like beach volleyball seal could have knocked that ball to this guy. Like Helinski, I hope that is like a poster on Ryan Helinski's wall the rest of his life. You cannot miss this throw at all. I mean, this guy is by himself. You could have under-tossed it, whatever. Granny shot it. No matter what, that ball would have got to him in the end zone. There was 0 coverage
the
entire.
And they sailed it in the hedges. And what's funny is that the Gamecocks have hedges just like Georgia does. And remember how the Gamecocks, after they beat Georgia, picked the hedges? I think they planted them, and they grew around the stadium.
Apparently, he thought the green was they were a touchdown right there. But, oh, gosh, he's in South Carolina, Helinski this week. But I'm telling you, after that one, when we come back, we're going to talk a little more Florida Gator football. It's Go Gators as they get ready to take on Missouri. 8-point spread in favor of the Gators. 8-2, looking for to finish off the season with double-digit wins as they did last year in a very impressive fashion. Coming back for more right here on Go Gators, brought to you by the Holman Law Firm.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Hey, get your head in the game. This ain't no exhibition match. This is for real. You've got a house to insure, and there are no excuses because Progressive's Home Quote Explorer makes it easier than ever to get the coverage you need. Here's some music to get you pumped. Feel that confidence. Did I say stop saving money? No.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
This is a message for all parents. If you as an adult think it's tough being separated or divorced, have you truly stopped to consider how your being separated or divorced affects your children? How parents treat one another, either during or after divorce, can have lifelong effects on your children. Whether you are separated from your spouse or even actually divorced, in either situation, keep in mind that you and your spouse are parents forever. Hello, my name is Stephen T. Holman, and I am a family law attorney. If you have questions regarding custody, visitation, or child support, call me today for a free consultation at 435-6909. That's 435-6909.
Calling all Florida State Seminole fans, Tomahawk Talk is here. Tune in each Wednesday afternoon from 1 till 2 right here on ESPN Pensacola 99.1 AM 1330 to get the latest on Florida State football. Hear from the experts, the superfans, and even some former players about what's happening on the field from the sidelines to the locker room. It's Tomahawk Talk this Wednesday starting at 1 o'clock on ESPN Pensacola 99.1 AM 1330.
Presented in part by Gross & Schuster, attorney at law.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Welcome to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Pensacola's home to the best talk in sports, new and improved. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 and FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Google Fi, a phone plan by Google.
And welcome back. Sports Drive is coming up here at 5 today. See how I tried to catch myself there? I meant to, I'm used to saying that. So, Go Gators. Welcome back to Go Gators right here. Try to con people into acting like I was giving a preview there. I know I just hosting a lot of shows and gave the wrong show right there. But Go Gators here. We got about 2 or 3 minutes left. Jeff, appreciate you sitting in today. Look, the game against Missouri, they're not as good this year, but from Florida, what do you want to see as a fan outside of obviously a W? What would you like to see?
A lot of times you go to Missouri, and I've been to Missouri to watch a football game. I watched the Gators play there, 6 years ago, and there's not a lot of buzz going on. It's a kind of a subdued crowd. It's a really ugly stadium with these pinch points where you can't get from like the east and west ends over to the north and south, and one end zone is nothing but grass. It's just not a very attractive venue. The campus is great, but the stadium is just awful, and they ran out of concessions. Like at halftime, it's like, how do you do that? But anyway, getting back to football, the Gators will have to play hard to beat Missouri. Missouri's not a bad team. They've won every game at home this year. The only losses were 3 road losses.
Kelly Bryant's out though, correct?
Kelly Bryant's probably going to play.
He's going to play in this one, okay.
And so that's why maybe the line. I mean, I'd feel really confident the Gators would win if Kelly Bryant doesn't play, because the backup quarterback situation is not good at Missouri. But if Bryant plays and they get a little mojo going, and they get a few happy officiating calls, the Gators play below their level a little bit, then Missouri could very easily win that game. But I hope they don't.
Jeff, we got about a minute left, so I want to ask you, College Football Playoff Committee tonight. I've got LSU, Ohio State. I've got Clemson 3 and Alabama 4.
I think I'd go with that, and I think that's probably what you'll see tonight. I don't think Alabama will fall farther than 4th. I mean, it's possible, but I don't envision that. I just think Alabama's in jeopardy at the end of the year if Oregon and Utah stay with 1 loss, and then the winner is able to leverage themselves at 12-1. And I think that the committee probably feels bad that the Pac-12's been left out for so long. So there's probably a subliminal vibe going on here too.
Well, on top of that too, on top of everything you're saying, I also think that based on that, the committee president is pretty much, or the committee chair this year up there with Hancock is Rob Mullen, the AD at Oregon. That's not going to, even though he could say, I'm going to leave the room, he looks at everybody. Remember, be like, you like your Nike products? We're going to take all your shoes like the Grinch.
Well, last week, it looked like they're positioning Oregon and Utah in that 6-7 position.
Jeff, enjoyed it today.
Enjoyed it very much, Chad.
All right, for Go Gators right here, brought to you by the Holman Law Firm. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Argos games and the big NFL games every Saturday and Sunday on Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. If you would like to be a part of ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000 or visit our website at ESPNpensacola.com.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
All them dogs are counting down, about to put the anchor down. Hotty toddy, who's it gonna be? Cowbells and swamp, the Aggies wrong. There's nothing like the SEC. The weekend's full of surprise. Hit 'em with the flex. From Williams Place to Death Valley. On the Feinbaum Show, Paul's on the roll. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul.
Alabama. It's your show. Go ahead.
You got a damn burn crappy attitude. Let me talk, Danny. Okay, go.
I really don't know where to go after that.
Don't take those calls.
I could give you my address and phone number if you're ever in this neck of the woods.
In my life, I've never had a phone call like that. And we say hello to you on a late autumn day. We're live in New York today, where we're sampling on the streets of Manhattan whether Alabama should be included in the top 4 in tonight's ranking. Great to say hello to you. We made it through Monday. It was a bit of a manic Monday on this program, always is, after an Alabama loss. And let's get right to it. Share with you some of the big stories making the news. And Tua sat out practice. Saban called it precautionary. I'll be most interested to see whether he's back today. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, Joe Moe, saying, no way am I going to name a starting quarterback. And you know that the Alabama defensive staff, which was